Hey guys, I've had a horrible morning. I missed you, but I couldn't find my pen, so I had to do a big treasure hunt for my pen. Then I comforted myself with some chocolate, so now my stomach hurts. But we're going to rebound and we're going to start this week off good. So this might be a little later than I thought it was going to be, but we're going to talk about translated parabolas. Now, these are the notes I kind of made highlights for. You might want to go ahead and open up this document. I'm just going to talk to you about it a little bit. And then I'm going to do those example problems for you, but I already wrote them down so that you didn't have to write them. Okay, so first of all, it looks like non-translated, but there's going to be parentheses. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in 1 second. You will always, and this is going to be a trend for all these for these translated things, is to find the vertex first. And the vertex is always going to be what we call HK, but the H always comes from the X parentheses. So the X spot comes from the X parentheses. You'll change the sign because there's parentheses. And the K, the Y spot, comes from the Y parentheses, change a sign. So it doesn't matter which one is squared. It matters which one goes with the X and which one goes with the Y, because that's going to tell us you the vertex. Now, after you figure out what is squared, then on the side, you'll do a little sketchy McSketcherson to see which way it's going to go. X squareds, go up or down, and Y squareds go left or right. So a little sketch, because then what you will do is you'll find the 4P. The 4P is going to be in front of the non-squared parentheses. And if you remember, the P will tell us how far away the focus and the directrix are. And you're just going to count it from the vertex. Okay? And if you count it from the vertex and then just read the ordered pair, you won't have to memorize anything. Now, down here are steps to write the equation in correct form. And this isn't going to mean much to you until we do the examples, but you can write it down if you want. I would say that's optional. The examples might remind you, and you can write little notes about that. So if you want to pause that and write that there. Now, these notes I'm going to show you now, this is what the formulas look like. So if you remember the ones we did yesterday, or I guess last week, is x squared is 4py, and it was y squared is 4px. So this time there's parentheses and there's parentheses, but the 4P is still there. So then again, the vertex is always going to be HK. And like I said, the H is coming from the X spot in both of those. Okay? This is the slide. Some kids don't like to think. They like to memorize things. And actually, you won't even have to memorize because you're going to be able to have your notes. This will give you formulas, if you like formulas. Most kids can't do this when I usually teach it because I don't let them have a formula sheet, so they have to think. But if you want to write this down, like if you want to write this and this and this down in a sketch, this is how the math lab view and example is going to teach you. You can pause it and write that down. And here it is for the sideways ones. You could write this down, little sketch. Okay, but I usually don't teach it that way. But you're welcome to do that. That's what the view and example will do. Okay, so back through the rest of the notes. If I can find it. Where'd it go? Okay. I'm going to cover this up and walk you through it. They're going to give you, actually, x plus 2 squared. -6. I have my notes right by me. Y minus 1. Okay. They're going to ask us to graph it, find the vertex, focus, and directrix. Now, the graphing is going to confuse you a little bit. Remember, you'll have multiple choice, so that won't be as hard on the math lab. That's harder on these examples. So these are the three big ones that you need to understand. Okay, so always find the vertex first. X is from X, Y is from Y, change the signs. So X is from X, -2, Y is from Y, change the signs. Perfect. Then you need to decide which way it's going to go. Well, the X is squared, so that means it's either smiling or frowning. And because this -6 is negative, it's actually going to be frowning. 4p is the number in front of the parentheses, -6. So if you divide by 4, p is -3/2, which is -1.5 when we're graphing. That will help us. At this point, I start graphing. -2, 1. That is my vertex. We are going to count 1.5 or -1.5, and because the focus goes inside of the parabola, we're going to go up or down. So go down 1, down 1/2. That is the focus. So now I'm going to just read my point. Where's my point? Well, it's still to the left too. Always one of the points will be the same as the vertex. Sometimes it's the first one, sometimes it's the second. But now I'm going down 1/2 because I went from this 1 and I went down 1.5, so I'm at -1/2. That's my focus. My directrix is up 1.5 from my vertex. So that is going to be y equals a number, and that is 2.5 or 5/2. Whatever your math lab would want. And that's the biggest part right there, what we just did. After that, you should be able to math lab figure it out by checking some points. We're going to do an XYT table and just pick out 1 point on either side. I'm going to plug in 0 for x here. Plug it into my equation. I get 2 squared equals, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this, -6y plus 6. 4 is -6y plus 6, -6 minus 6. -10 is -6y. Divide by -6, what is that? What I got? I didn't feel like that's what I did last time. I had 0 1/3 last time. 4 -6y plus 6. Oh, there it is. -6 minus 6 will be -2. -6 minus 6 is -2, so that will be 1/3. Sorry, I knew there was a mistake somewhere. 0, 1/3 would be here. There's symmetry, so if I go over 2, up 1/3 there, it's a wider parabola. That's good enough. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and it is tricky, but if you find the vertex first, that's what you're going to do. Now, that one was already ready to go. This is where it gets a little bit weird, and we're going to have to do this completing the square stuff. Okay, this is where those steps are going to fall in that I wrote out for you. Okay, it says to get the squared term and its friend on one side. So the squared term is y squared. When I mean its friend, it's the same letter as it, but not squared. Move everybody else to the other side. That's what your first step said. So I will add x and subtract 16. Okay, now the directions say to find the magic number. The magic number comes from when we drew boxes last year. Remember, if I had a y squared box and I had 6 y's, I would have 3 on each side. That would give me 9 in the corner. So 9 is the magic number. The magic number is always half of this squared, half of 6 squared. So half of 6 is 3, 3 squared is 9. Now when I put plus 9 here, I have to put it over here as well. You have to keep it even. The whole reason I found the magic number is because that's going to let me write it like this. Now, what size is the square? The square is the size as whatever this was when it was halved. So it's the y plus 3 squared. And this is going to be an x minus 7. Okay? Now, there's no parentheses and number in front here. So if I want to put the parentheses there and put a 1 in front, that's what I can do. Okay, what is the vertex? The vertex is x from x, y from y. Change the sign, 7, -3. The y is squared this time. So that means I'm either going to go like this or like this. Because 4p is positive, it's going to be the regular c. Divide by 4, p is 1/4 or 0.25. So we go to the sketch, 7, -3. And this time I'm going to go left to right because I need to put the focus on the inside of the vertex. So from here, I'm going to go over 1/4, and it's going to be real close to where I was. So this time I'm not over 7. I'm over 7 plus the 1/4. So 7 plus 1/4 is either 7.25, or you can change it to a fraction if you need to. But I'm still down 3. So one of those places stayed the same. The directrix will be 1/4 the other way. This time it is x equals a number. And it was, if you remember, at 7, but now I'm going to the left, so that's going to be 6.75. And now for the x, y, t table part, this would be kind of tricky. I'm going to plug in, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. If I plug in 0 for y, I'll get 3 squared, which is 9, is x minus 7, and I add 7, and I get 16. Why did I pick that? I picked that because I knew that it would be a nice even point. If that's hard for you to see, again, the math lab will be multiple choice. It'll be easier. So I'm going to go over 16 up 0. And then there will be symmetry. So this is good enough for that. Okay. My graph in your notes is not correct, I don't think. So I don't know why I ended up going up 6 on that. I think I just misread my stuff. So my graph on the notes is not quite right. Where did it go? Move that guy down here. It's skinnier than it looks, I guess. I'm sorry about that. I think I misread that and didn't realize I was plugging in a 0. I don't know what the heck I did, actually. But that's that. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more examples on a new video that's optional for you to watch. I think you'll understand it good when we do the math lab. But that's what I'm going to do for you. And that's all I need you to do today is take the notes.